So I'll be using xTool's Creative Space version 2.0. Previous versions will also work for this project. So I'm going to start by drawing a square. So we'll go over to the rectangle tool. I'll hold down my Shift key and draw a square. Then under the size panel, I'm going to change that to 4 inches, and it will automatically do the width and the height for me. Then if I click on it again, we're going to add a radius to this. So I'm going to choose 0.2, click Enter, and you can see we've got a nice curve here on the corners of that square. Now I'm going to do a copy paste, Control C, Control V, and this will be the back of the coaster. So I'll just put this over here for the moment. Then I'm going to do Control Copy, Control Paste, and I'm going to change that to 3 inches. And this will be the inner part of the frame. Select both of those items, do a horizontal and vertical alignment. While I still have those selected, I'm going to go over to the Combine menu and select on Subtracted Overlap. Now what this does is it combines those two pieces into one piece, and this will be the frame for the coaster. So now what we need to do is choose the pattern for the center. So I'll go back over to the Shape menu, and I'm going to scroll down and choose this pattern right here. Close the menu, we no longer need that. I'm going to bring this onto the screen, and I'm going to change that to 3 inches. And again, I'm going to align both of these items, so horizontal and vertical alignment. Now I'm going to go in a little bit closer here so you can see this next step. If we were to combine this pattern with the frame at this point, those pieces would individually cut out and just fall away, so you would have no design in the center. So what we need to do is add an outline to give this pattern some weight. So click on the pattern, go down to the outline option. Now the default is 0.79. You can see that's quite a big outline. So I'm going to bring this down, just use the slider bar, and I'm going to bring it down to 0.029 and click OK. Now what I was looking for here is I want to have an overlap onto the inner part of the frame. And it looks like that's done that quite well. So I'm going to click on the pattern, and then I'm just going to delete it because I no longer need it at this point. And you can see here, this is what I'm talking about, that dark blue and the light blue, you can see they overlap. So before I join all this together, I'm going to do a copy paste and move that pattern off to the side. Now I'm going to select all of these items, then back over to Combine, and I'm going to choose Unite. And there you have your beautiful coaster design. So now that we have our square design, let's go ahead and make a circle one. So let me just move my items around here on the screen. So there's the back for the square, and there's the front for the square. So I'll just leave those over there. And we've got the pattern that we kept. So we'll go back over to the drawing tools, and we're going to select circle, hold down my Shift key, and I'm going to just do that same process. I'll do a 4-inch circle, then I need to do a copy paste and make a 3-inch circle. Then I'm going to take my pattern, place all these items together, select them, do horizontal and vertical alignment. Now you can see we've got a bit of a different scenario here. We're trying to fit a square image into a circle, and we're going to have some issues here with the overlap. So what I want to do is actually join these circles together to make a frame. So I'm going to click on the first, or the inner circle, hold down my Shift key for the second one, go over to Combine, Subtracted Overlap. So now we have that as a single image. Then what I'm going to do is click on the pattern. Now I do not want these pieces right here going on the outside. I need to reduce the size. And since I've already done my alignments, I don't want to have to mess around with that too much. So for example, if I took one of the corners, you could see I would constantly be trying to center vertically and horizontally. But if I click on it and use one of the bars on the long part of the design, or on the, I'm not really sure what to call that, the long part of the square, this will keep the aspect ratio. So this is very handy. So what I'm going to do is just pull those down. And I want the design, so it's about, this part of the design here, it's about halfway out. I think that looks pretty good. Actually, maybe a little bit more, maybe about there. I think that looks really good. And we'll do the same process as before. Just select all your items. Then we'll go to Combine and click Unite. And now you have a second coaster, a circle version. And even though you're using that same pattern, it gives you a completely different look. Now, the one thing I forgot to do was duplicate that circle, but that's not really difficult. I'll just go back here and create another 4-inch circle, and that will be the backer for this one. So now, in just a few minutes, you've created 2 unique coaster patterns from the same design, just using one of the pattern tools. And the beauty of this is these are vector files. So if you wanted to change the size of these, you can easily do that. Whether you increase the size or decrease the size, you will not lose any of the quality of the design. So let me show you how I set these files up to send to my laser. I currently have the xTool M1 with the 10-watt laser diode. I'll be process on the base plate. Even though I have it a honeycomb, this would be the setting that I use. The material that I've chosen is the 3 millimeter black walnut plywood. And then it does give me a thickness, but I would choose auto measure. Now, I'm currently not hooked up to my machine, but when I do, I would do auto measure. Then the remaining settings are the same. Next, I'm going to highlight both of these items. And now I can choose Easy Panel or Easy Set Panel. Now this is a nice feature that xTool has added in this version of the software. They've spent a lot of time just researching different materials and processing them on their different machines. And it's great because it gives you a starting point on a material. So for example, on this 3 millimeter walnut plywood, they give you options. So you can click on these different ones and you can see the settings change. Now this setting, I'm actually familiar with this material. It's a speed of, or a power of 100, a speed of 3, and 1 pass. Now that is the setting that I use on this, so that is perfect. So I'm going to leave it at that. Now if I was to change this, I'm going to send this off to the machine and cut in the walnut, 1 set. So I'll have 1 square one and 1 round one. And then I'm going to repeat that job, but I'm going to choose the 3 millimeter basswood plywood. So if I select both of those items and we go to the Easy Panel, you can see we get different setting suggestions. So they're saying a power of 100, a speed of 6, and a pass of 1. Now on my wood, if I go to 5, I seem to get a much better result. So what's nice about this feature is you have their recommendations, but if you're experienced with your materials and know what works, you can manually input those settings. So that's what I'm going to do. So once I'm hooked up to my machine and I send this off to process, the software tells me it's estimating 9 minutes to cut both those files. So I'll be running this twice, once with the plywood, the basswood, and then another one with the walnut. So let's take a closer look at the cutout coasters. So here's the first one. I used a 1/4-inch cherry for this one, and let me show you the back first. That is the natural color of that cherry. And then I wanted to seal it, so I used some linseed oil. And it did change the color a little bit, but I'm really happy with it. Not too dark, and I think it looks great. Now these could be used just as is. You could put some felt circles on the corners here to protect it, or a cork backing would also work. But that's the first look at the square coaster. So let's have a quick look at the circle coaster. Now this one is equally beautiful, but I didn't have a 1/4 inch thick wood for this one. This is a, looks like a 3mm walnut, so that's the natural finish. And again, I added the linseed oil. Now you can see that that has really darkened it up, but I think it's quite beautiful. And I'll show you another variation of this coaster in just a second. So that's how they look, just naturally cut out as is. So I'll put those to the side. So once I was cutting these out and clearing out the crumb tray, you can see you've got all these little tiny bits and pieces. And I thought, you know, this is an opportunity to maybe use these pieces in a creative way. So let me show you what I did. So here's an example of the 3mm coaster. So this is the one cut in walnut. So that is 3mm. Then I had some craft wood, which is about, I think it was 2mm. It could be any size that you like. I gave it a couple of coats of gold metallic paint, let that dry. Then I applied a sealer, which was the Mod Podge. I just painted a couple of coats on that, let it dry. Then on the reverse side of the coaster, I went ahead and just put a couple of dabs of glue and then one in each of the little intersections right here. Applied that to the topper, or to the bottom, sorry. Then I used some clamps and just let that dry. Then when it was thoroughly dry, I went to my pile of scraps and I selected some of the 3mm basswood, added a dab of glue to the back of them, and popped it into these openings right there. And I thought that that looked really cute. So you could do variations of this. You can make them all the same, or you can do some variations, and I'll show you what I did. So here's some other ones. These are all glued together. This was my first one. It's got a few little nicks in it because I was just experimenting. But overall, I was very happy at the outcome. So like I said, I had taken some thinner wood, and it could be 3mm basswood if you wanted to do that. I applied purple to this one, pink, and blue. Then from the scraps, I mixed them up, and I just took the wood from the walnut and put it in a different pattern in the basswood. And you can see here I've got 4 different patterns. And I think that looks really, really cute. So that's another option. So you could have a really nice set of coasters with different colors in there, different patterns. If you wanted to really get intricate, you could even play with the grain on those cut pieces. You could make a pattern out of that. So very happy with those ones. So let's have a look at the circle ones. So I showed you this one. This was just cut as is, and then I put some linseed oil on there to protect it. And then I applied that same technique of switching out the scraps to make a different set of coasters. Now, I like the square ones, but I love these ones. I just love the way these turn out. And when you turn them around, they don't even look like they're made from the same pattern. So you can see there's lots of opportunities here to make, from that pattern to make multiple designs. And that's what I love most. Now, the other thing that I like about this is since it was created as a vector file, you can increase and decrease the size of that. So for example, these coasters I believe were 4 inches. And I decided, you know what, this could make a great plant stand. I have a lovely orchid that is blooming right now, and I thought I could just put the little pot on here and that would look absolutely beautiful. So again, this was cut from the 1/4 inch cherry that I had, and then I applied the linseed oil to seal it. Then I wanted to add a little bit of engraving around here, so I've just put bloom where you are planted, and I just evenly spaced it around the whole circle. And you could also apply this to kitchen items and make it into a trivet, and you could put any kind of saying around there that you like, and you could make it any size that you like. So that concludes today's tutorial. If you enjoyed that, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section. I would actually love to hear how some of you, finish off the wood to seal it. I've tried different things, but I'm also open to many more suggestions here. So if you want to leave a comment, that would be much appreciated. If you enjoyed the video and you haven't yet subscribed, I hope that you choose to do so. So until next time, thanks for watching and happy crafting.